depth questions to ask, I go blank.
I feel like, I don't know if this happens to you. I have two different voices. I have a voice when I speak in Spanish, and I have a different voice when I speak in English.
But you also have a different voice when you speak in Dominican.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Oh, yeah. It's
Like,
it's
she
a problem.
does too. And
It's
I
a
notice it
problem.
at school. Like, depending on who she's talking to, like, she will start speaking a different version of Spanish.
It's insane. Like, all my American friends are like, I feel like you have three versions. I'm like, yeah. When I'm with my Dominican friends, I get so Dominican. My voice changes. It's like I speak so like fast, and I cut so many like words in. And then when I'm speaking like Paula Ferry, the actress, in like neutral Spanish, it's so different. Like when I go to Mexico, I speak neutral Spanish. I'm a whole different person. And then I speak English, it's a whole different person too. It's like I feel like I have multiple
Yeah.
personalities.
Well, I think multiple ways of pronunciation, because I think it's articulation.
Yeah.
You know, and so I know that you grew up in the theater.
Yeah.
We just spoke about this in Spanish, but I want to talk you to talk about it in English, because you grew up. Your father was the director of the orchestra in Santo Domingo.
The Dominican Philharmonic.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Like, that in and of itself is incredible.
It's insane because I grew up like, I always say that I grew up backstage. Like, that was my playground. My dad, he's a huge musical theater producer. His name is Amaury Sanchez. He actually like his biggest thing that I could mention you right now for you to put like the amount of importance that he is that he was the first person to translate In the Heights into Spanish, and the Spanish version of In the Heights is his own. Like, it's his translation. That's how big he is. He's the biggest producer. Like, he brought all the Broadway Disney shows to the country. We traveled around the world as Disney in Spanish for Beauty and the Beast and Peter Pan.
Wow.
Like, that's how I grew up. So I grew up like backstage, seeing all this magic. And then I have my mom, that's like my hero. She's the biggest producer I've ever met. And it's not because she's my mom. I think she's the smartest producer I've ever met. She knows how to make artists. Like, her job is to make amazing artists. So I grew up with these two personalities in my house. And from a very young age, I decided that I wanted to be an actress. I did my first show when I was 6 years old. I did Chip in Beauty and the Beast. And from that moment, I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I grew up with my dad's creativity, but my mom's business head. And like, I grew up being involved in like art, but I also did production, but I also did like creative stuff. And now that's why I've like, my resume is just a bunch of different stuff. Like, you have my artistic side, my production side, my teaching side, because I just grew up with all this amazing surrounding.
And that's really important, the experience, right? Like, you lived and breathed this.
I didn't know anything else.
Right. Yeah. And so you got to watch two geniuses at work as they created all of this.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for it too. Like, I often talk about how beautiful my childhood was. People think that because I grew up like working, like I was a child actor, and people have like a bad idea of what a child actor is. But like, I grew up in Disneyland. Like,
right.
That was my Disneyland. Right. I saw magic happen every day. I loved dressing up. I loved working. Like, I didn't care that I missed birthdays or trips or like cruises. Like, I missed my quinceañera cruise. And that's something that until this day, my friends like, I can't believe you chose a movie over your quinceañera. I'm like, that was my quinceañera, girl.
Right.
Like, I had tacos in Terrenas for my birthday, and it was awesome because I was making movies.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I think that that's the thing, is when when you can find that love and that passion and that purpose at such a young age, it's not, you know, it's not easy, because I think that the exposure to what you were doing, and I think a lot of times, there's certain people who feel the need to involve their children in what where in work, right? In what they do work wise. You'll find CEOs or entrepreneurs or people like that who literally take their kids to work with them so they can see the ins and outs and all of the things that they do every single day, to dinner meetings and stuff like that. You, on the other hand, it's the same thing. It's you were there experiencing the whole thing. Now, you could have loved it. You could have hated it.
And I have a little brother. And we grew up the same way. He's not an artist. No. He didn't like it. And my parents were they were such amazing parents. Because my mom, from day one, and my dad too, they were like, if you want to do this, we'll do it. If you don't want to do this, there's no need. You don't need to do this. Especially when it came to like roles and certain movies, they would read the script and they're like, are you sure you want this? Is it making you happy? Like, they didn't care about how much money I was getting or how much exposure is going to give me. They just care, like, is it making you happy? And that is something that until this day, my mom still is like, do you need it? Do you need this job, or you want to do this job? I'm like, well, I need it because I need to make money. And she's like, no, you don't. If you can make money other ways and still be happy, but you'd never compromise like your feelings and your values for a role. And I truly appreciate that they did that, because I see so many stories nowadays of child actors who are like, oh, I blame my parents for this, or I blame that I got myself in this situation. I didn't grow up like that. I grew up with a very protective family and very secure family that provided me with the values and the opportunities that I needed to love my job. And like, again, I have a little brother. He's not an artist. He doesn't like it, and it was okay too. Right. Like, my brother, he's in school now. He's in college, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with the business. I'm like, good for you, man. Right. Do whatever you want.
And it's for some people, it's not for others. But I think also on that, it's the support, the positive support that you got, because a lot of times parents can force, that on you, and they allowed you to choose, but not only to choose, but actually think through the roles that you were getting, that you were receiving, so that you could say, I do, or I don't. But and then they're like, well, I need to make money, and then they also reiterated, well, there's multiple ways that you can make money besides that. And so I think that that's really important to, in general, in anything today. It's that support that is necessary from parents to be able to push their child and help their dreams and not squash them.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier in the other show, but I feel like it's not just parents. I just feel like you have to surround yourself from a positive circle. Like, I'm very into my energy. I protect my energy so much because I work with my energy. Right. I work with my feelings, my body, my voice, my mind, my heart. Those are my instruments. If I don't protect those, then I'm putting at risk my instruments. So when I surround myself with people that do not give me a positive energy, a positive outcome, they don't want me to grow, don't want me to succeed, I'm putting myself at risk, and I'm putting my opportunities at risk. Right. And I see a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm working so hard, and it's just like, it's nothing happening for me. I'm like, who you're hanging out with? And I often ask them, like, what are you doing that is not working? Because sometimes, and I say this because I went through it. For a long time, I was not booking jobs. I was not booking jobs. I was miserable at my job. I was working in production. I was not having a good time. And it only took me a moment to realize that I was surrounding myself with people that they were telling me, like, you need to find a plan B. You need to do something else. You need to do this. You need to do that. And when I took those people, those voices out of my head, and I just started hanging out with people who were like, okay, I think you can do it. I think you're talented. Oh, you're gorgeous. I feel like you can do this. You know what? Let's make a plan. Okay, you know what? Let me help you out with this. I can connect you with this person. I started booking stuff because my energy was clean. My energy was positive. And I feel like when you surround yourself with that, more opportunities are going to come your way. But it's your choice.
Yep.
You choose who you want to surround yourself with.
I couldn't agree with you more because, I don't know how many times you hear, you can tell the type of person that you are based on the 5 closest people to you.
Yeah.
And that is and truly is the case because your energy, if people aren't going to support you, if people aren't going to lift you up, if they're just going to tear you down, then there is no point in having them around you.
Yeah.
And so having that positive energy to people say, yes, you can do it. Your parents, your friends, your support system is everything that you need in order to achieve your goals. But I think even today when we're talking about young people and kids, like, you get a lot of people, adults, parents, whomever, just saying, you can't do that. Be more realistic. It's not going to happen for you. It's a long shot. It's risky, right? And so I think that that's really important because I often tell them, just because they can't do it doesn't mean you can't do it.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like, we reflect as humans. I mean, like we reflect our own insecurities to other people. Yeah. Like I feel like I can't do that, so I tell you that you can't do it. I teach teenagers and young kids, and I often get this, oh, I like it, but my dad says I need to study something more realistic or something that's gonna make me financially stable. I'm like, I'm financially stable.
Yep.
And I went to school for acting. And like, if you are, and I'm financially stable because my parents told me I could make a living out of it. And they taught me how to make a living out of it. I'm not saying you're going to, graduate, book and show and be a billionaire. No.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, if you love something, there's ways to make money out of it. But also, you shouldn't go to do whatever you want to do for the rest of your life because of money.
Right.
And this is something I often, like, again, I have a young brother. I talk a lot about this with him. I'm like, you have to study, you have to do in life whatever makes you happy. And that's going to bring all this, like, the stability that you want and you need. Right. Because if you're not happy on the inside, there's no way. Like, the most absurd thing for me is that I'm going to go to an office every day to do something I don't like.
Right.
No way.
Yep.
I didn't invest thousands of dollars on studying something that is not going to make me smile.
Right. Absolutely. And we can see that in the case of so many actors and actors. Every actor and actress or in the arts or anything like that who have made it have those stories of those people who, they're like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And they surrounded themselves with the people and they did it.
There's an interview with Viola Davis, who's an amazing actress, and she mentioned that when she was in acting school, her teacher said, who here wants to be an actor? And everyone raised their hands. It's like, okay, who here wants to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to go to set? Who here wants to drive around to find coffee because you're now a PA? Who here wants to knock on doors every single day and being told that they're not enough? Who here wants to send resumes every day and do castings and knock on doors and do interviews and travel around the world? And all the hands started like going down. And then the teacher said, you don't want to be an actor. You want to be famous. And there's a difference there. Being an actor is not just being pretty and being in front of a camera, learning your lines and delivering. Being an actor is, like I said before, is working with your emotions, with your mind, with your body, with your voice. And like personally for me, I wanted to be an actor because I wanted people to feel something. Like from day one, I just loved how people came up to me and said, your story moved me, or this made me feel this. Because I felt like I was helping people through my art. And that's why I wanted to become an actor. If you ask someone else, might tell you like, oh, I just like make people laugh, or I like being silly. I like playing characters. I think it evolves with you, the reason why you want to do it. And it's the same as doctors, the same as lawyers. Like you need to have a motive on why you want to do this, because it's not an easy career. It's not something I would personally recommend.
Right. Well, because there's you know, close the door. There's the let's be a PA. Go and get me a coffee. Go do this. Go do that. There's all of that other stuff that comes along with it that nobody sees. And you know, and it's one of those things that, like you said before too, like, okay, well, make sure you always have a plan B, you know, or have something else that comes along to make sure you're ready. And in my mind, if you have a plan E, then you don't, a plan B, then you don't believe that you can be successful in plan A.
Yeah,
right?
I have a really good friend who keeps telling me that.
Yes, and she's quite wise, I would say, that one. But it's true, though, that, you know, and a lot of times people will say, I'm going to go and do this. They have the momentum for like a week, and then they're like, okay, well, that didn't work, so I'm going to try something else. And they're like, you know, you're planting a seed, but you're digging it up before you even water it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I tell a lot of kids, they ask me like, oh, what's some advice you would give someone who wants to study acting? And I always say the same thing. I'm like, if you really want to be an actor, it's because you can't imagine yourself doing anything else. If you can imagine yourself doing anything else, don't go to acting school. Don't waste your time. Go do that other thing. And then take it as a hobby. Who knows? Maybe you can actually like pick a show. But don't invest your time and energy if you don't actually see yourself doing it every day. Because it's exhausting. You're working with emotions. You're tired. I'm tired. I get tired. And you have to, you know, I have to go to on the stage every night and play an emotion and play a character that is not me. And I have to go through those emotions live. People are watching me. Like if you're not comfortable with that, just find something else.
Right. And I think too is that even as an actor, like you go through those times where, okay, you have a job and you have job after job, but then all of a sudden there's nothing.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to be comfortable with that and be prepared for that when and if that comes. But I think also in that advice is, you know, I had interviewed someone and they said to me, imagine the world with whatever it is that you want to do.
Oof.
Now imagine the world without it.
Yeah.
If you can't live without it, then that's what you need to do.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's plain and simple, and it's almost exactly like what you just said.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's one of those things that it's your check. I'm imagining myself as this actor, as this doctor, as this entrepreneur. I'm imagining myself helping these people or bringing this message to the world, singing it, whatever it might be, teaching, whatever it is. Now the world, it doesn't exist. Can I continue on knowing that it will never exist if I don't do that? And I think that that's a really good way to check yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do before you decide to like go to school.
Right.
Like I always mention they go to school because I work a lot with teenagers, and that's like their biggest thing. They're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I'm like, you have so much time. Yeah. You can change careers so many times.
But there's still that.
I still change careers. Like I still like keep studying and learning. I think you're never late. That's another thing of like this new generation, which I thought we moved past it, but somehow we came back to it, which is like people think we're running out of time all the time. And like myself included, like I have breakdowns monthly, guys. I still think like I'm running out of time because I'm almost 30. Like I get it. But it's like once like you hear all the stories, and Julia Roberts didn't make it until she was 29. You hear George Clooney didn't make his first movie until he was like 32. Like Sandra Bullock didn't hit until she was 35.
Yeah.
There's so, and I'm just speaking actors, like there's so many people around the world. And I know a lot of people that change careers and still like are in their 50s and like, oh, I'm starting something new. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's how you keep your mind
Absolutely.
fresh, you know?
And it's true. Colonel Sanders didn't start Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was 70. I mean, come on, you know, like but that's the thing. You have to not realize, like, it's not too late. I mean, what kills me is that a lot of young people do go to college and they spend 4 years studying something that they don't know. They just pick something.
Yeah.
They
Because
go
they need a degree. Yeah.
because they need a degree, whatever it might be. Then they get done, and then they start working in this job that they don't really like, but they just stay in it because they're like, well, if
That's
I go
what they
back
were
to school,
told,
it's
yeah.
4 more years or it's whatever. And I'm like, 4 more years? You got like 70 more years ahead of you,
Yeah.
like, you know? So I think that that's really important. You're never too old to change and do what you love. A lot of times.
I have a 62-year-old woman. I think she's 62. She did her first acting workshop like a month ago.
Wow.
And she called me because we do improv together. And she's like, I just had my first audition. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I have a commercial. Can you coach me? I'm like, of course. And she booked it.
Nice.
And then she sent me a text and she was like, I finally booked my dream after 62 years. And I'm telling you, you might say like a commercial, that was her dream. She wanted to act. I just did a play with this amazing woman. She just turned 60. And I remember she came up to me in the first rehearsal, the table read. And she's like, I'm so nervous. I've never done this in my life. I don't know how they cast me. Like, I'm not sure what to do. And the whole rehearsal process, it was tough on her because she's never done a play before. It's her first play. It's a very hard play. And we sat down, we worked on it, and I was like, okay, you know, let me help you memorize lines and everything. At the end of the show, I am not kidding. When she comes out on stage, people lose it. They're like screaming it for her, like she's
Wow.
amazing on the show. And at the end of the show, she said, thank you to all of you because I'm 60 years old. And I did this because all of you supported me. It's never too late. She's 60. She never thought in a million years she was going to become an actress. And now she's booking films.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. And I'm talking like this woman's a businesswoman. Like, she's a CEO. This is a hobby.
Wow.
And she managed to do both of those because she wanted to do that for her 60th birthday. That was her dream.
That's incredible. That is in and of itself incredible. And I think it just is a testimony, and it's a testament to the fact that, gosh, life is just too short to not follow what your dreams are and not follow what you love to do and figure out a way, because there's always a way. Always. There's always a way. I mean, I was 36 when I picked up and came to the Dominican Republic. No idea that I was going to
Live here.
live here. I was just coming to perfect my
Yeah.
Spanish for a year. I was going to go back home and find an inner city school job where I thought I could make more of a difference. And then I'm like, maybe I can start my own school. But even when I had that in my mind, it was until 3 years later that I actually opened the doors of the first school. And, you know, so when you think about it, age doesn't matter. It's belief in yourself and being surrounded, like you said, by those people that are going to support you and lift you up and build you up and say, yeah, you can do it. So I want to go back. Your chip. You had to go to your dad and your mom, and you had to say, Because a lot of people might think, oh, well, her mom and dad were already in the business, so she just got
Yeah.
a free ride, a hand up, whatever. And I want to make it clear that did not happen.
Oh no, they made me audition
Yep.
for
So-
everything.
So what was that? What was that like, Chip?
I
Do you,
mean-
can you remember?
Oh, I do remember everything, which is like so funny. My mom keeps saying like, I can't believe you remember that. I remember that audition like it was yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And I'm so grateful they made me audition for everything too, because it felt earned. Like it felt like I earned it. And like, I want to make something clear. I always tell this story because people don't believe it. After we did Beauty and the Beast, we did Peter Pan, and then 2008 we did Annie.
Oh.
I auditioned for Annie.
Uh-huh.
I didn't get the part. Like, hard to believe, I didn't get the part. I know why I didn't get the part. I wasn't right for the part.
Mm-hmm.
I got another part. I was Molly.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd be a good Molly.
I cried for like a week.
Did you want to be Annie?
I wanted to be Annie so bad. And I told my mom, like, why didn't I get it? And she honestly said to me, because you don't have the right vocal for it. That's not your tone. You fit better in this character. And I was pissed. I trained myself, like, I wanted to show them that I could be Annie. Because I was a stubborn kid. And by the end of it, I loved Molly so much. I didn't want to be Annie anymore. Mm-hmm. But what it taught me was, like, first of all, it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
It was just wasn't my time. I couldn't play that character, and they were right. Second of all, I've never been a lead role in any of my parents' projects. Never. Not even once. Even when they did in The Heights, I auditioned and I didn't make it.
For anything.
For anything. I didn't make it. And like everyone was like, but aren't you like the daughter? I'm like, I didn't make it. Period. I wasn't cut out for those roles. And it's okay. Like, I am so grateful they did that because they taught me from a very young age that what it's meant to be was meant to be.
Right.
I was never a lead in any of my parents' production. I was a lead in other people's production, and it was okay. I got my first lead in theater like a month ago. A month ago, after 20 years of working on it. My first lead. I just got it a month ago, and it was not my parents' production.
But I truly believe, though, that if your parents felt you were right for the part, they would have put you in the
They would have given
lead.
it to me, of course. But they didn't feel like it was right, and I get it. Even though, like, my parents were so supportive that when I wanted to study acting, there was no acting schools in Santo Domingo, and they founded a school. Honestly, they did that so I can study. Like, they did that. It was the first acting school, musical theater school, that they taught they teach, because they still exist, acting, sing, and dance. It's
Wow.
called AFA. It's in Santo Domingo. And I think I got a lead in AFA playing a role, and I didn't want it. I was like, I don't think I can make it. And they came up to me, was like, if we're giving it to you, it's because we think you can make it. But if you don't feel comfortable, you just don't do it.
Right.
But I'm so grateful that they were always like that, because I feel like growing up and being that serious about a job, like, we didn't take anything personal. So I grew up in a way like I didn't take any of that personal.
Right.
And when I went to like professional life and I went to New York, I didn't get a role, and I didn't take it too hard, because I just knew that something that was out of my control. It was just not my time. Like, I'm not gonna lie, of course it hurts.
Sure.
Sometimes when you're like last call and you're like, oh my God, it's between me and this other person. Like, I'm gonna put this example. I auditioned for the Powerpuff Girls, the CW Powerpuff Girls, and I was in the last call for Blossom, and I really thought I was gonna get it. Like, I really thought I was gonna get it, and I cried like a baby because I didn't get it. And then another person who was a named actress got the role. And I read the script and everything. Like, it came to a point that I read the pilot. Like, I was that close. I signed NDAs. I was close to the pilot, and I didn't get it. Then the images came out of the pilot for the Powerpuff Girls. And if you are in the industry, you know that it got canceled because they found the show offensive and they canceled the show. So imagine if I got the Powerpuff Girls. What would have
Yes.
changed? It got canceled. It was not meant for me.
And it goes to show that sometimes you got to just trust in the process.
Then again, I go with Nickelodeon show. For Nickelodeon, it was booked. Like my role was booked by somebody else. Someone else had that role, and I got a call 2 weeks before I start shooting Nickelodeon, and the casting director was a friend of mine, and she says, "How's your English? Are you in DR?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually in DR at the moment." And she says, "I have a problem. One of my actresses is sick and they need a replacement like in 2 weeks. And I auditioned for this role without any idea of what it was. And I freaked out because the first thing I read is a mother and her child enter a hotel. And I have a breakdown. I'm like, a mother? I'm like, I don't have, I'm not, I cannot be a mother. Like, I'm a baby. How am I going to be a mother?" And I was like, I am going to audition for this and it's going to be a mess. I'm not going to get it. This is stupid. And Cheryl actually did that audition for me. And she's like, "Listen, let's just have fun with it. If you don't get it, whatever, we're just going to have a good time." And I was, before this Nickelodeon show, I was having a rough time getting parts because I was so focusing on nailing the audition and like doing a great audition that I was not having fun doing auditions. I was actually like very struggling to enjoy the process. And I remember telling my friend, I had so much fun in that audition. We laughed so much doing that because we were laughing that I was going to be a mom and we dressed up as a mom and everything. I sent the audition. They called me back. They're like, "Can you send another one?" I'm like, "Oh my God." I sent like 6 auditions. On the audition number 6, they're like, "Can we do a Zoom call?" I'm like, "Sure." And I meet with the director and I meet with the writer. And they're like, "So any concerns, whatever?" And I say jokingly like, "Well, yeah, I'm not a mom, dude. Like, how on earth I'm going to play a mom?" And he says, "Well, it's Nickelodeon, so don't worry about it." And I didn't know it was a Nickelodeon show until that point. I was like, "Wait, what?" It's like, "Yeah, it's a Nickelodeon show." And like, we love it. Like, I think you're perfect for it. We're going to make it work. The kids are cast, but we're going to make it work. You're going to be the mom. And I booked a Nickelodeon show just like that. So it's like, when it's meant to happen,
Yes.
It's meant to happen. If you see the show, you'll see my kids are blonde and blue eyes. And if you're seeing me, I'm a brunette with dark eyes. So there's no way those were my kids. It was meant for somebody else. But they made it work. Like, and they were so... I was so grateful for the opportunity, and the cast was such an amazing cast that they even fly me to LA for the premiere. Like, I got to live that, and it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I grabbed it because I was like, I just had so much fun doing that show.
What year did you do the show?
What?
What year was it?
A year ago? 2 years? 2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah.
Okay.
We filmed it here in DR, so
Right.
randomly. And like, again, it was an opportunity that it was meant for somebody else. And look how everything changed. Like, that person got sick. They were already in DR. They needed someone in 2 weeks, and they were not going to fly someone from
But
LA.
that's the thing. It was not meant for somebody else. It was meant for exactly the person who did it, and that would be you. So tell me about New Amsterdam. Tell
New
me
Amsterdam
about...
that was another blessing, man. There's so many blessings in life. That was a funny story with New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam happened the year I graduated college. I was in my college graduation. So when you're in school, I went to acting school in New York, in the New York Conservatory, and you do minors. And I minored in production, in film production. And my teacher needed help with like some jobs outside school, and I wanted the extra credit. So I was like, I'll do it. So I literally worked with this person, and my job was bringing coffee and like grabbing cables and like basically doing stuff around. Whatever they told me to do, I'll do it. And graduation comes along. My parents are in New York. And I'm thinking, man, I have to tell my mom I don't have a job. I have to go back. I was ready, like, to have this conversation with my mom. I sat down with my mom, and I was like, listen, I know I applied for my work visa. I got my work visa, but I couldn't find a job. I'm struggling. I don't have enough money to pay rent. I'm going to go back. And so if you don't mind staying a couple more days so I can pack my stuff and we can go back together. The second we finished that conversation, I get a phone call from my college teacher saying, hey, I have a job for you. This was the actual conversation. It's not a good job. You're going to be working like lots of hours and not getting paid well, but my friend has another show, and that's a better fit. If you can get this job, you can just go and work with her for like a 2-year contract. If not, you can just come work with me. So I had 2 job opportunities in one phone call. And I was like, what do I have to do? She's like, just come in tomorrow to my office. I'll give you an interview. I went there. The first thing that her friend tells me is, we hate actors. I'm like, yeah, I get it. So what do you do? I'm like, I'm an actress. And I booked my job in New Amsterdam as a production assistant. I was the actor's assistant. And it was such a blessing job because I came from that interview. I was like, Mom, I guess I'm staying. I did 2 years with the best cast and crew I could ever ask, which was New Amsterdam. A year into being a production assistant in New Amsterdam, I got bumped to production coordinator. Like, I fell in love with this cast. It was such a beautiful job. We worked together from Monday to Friday, 12 to 14 hours a day for like 11 months. Those are my friends. That was my family. I didn't know where I was going to spend Christmas. And these people got me into their homes, invited me to Thanksgiving, Halloween, Valentine's. It was such a blessing show that I will forever have in my heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, you have the whole package going on there. And you were at New Amsterdam for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
They film it in New York?
They filmed in New York, yeah.
Wow.
We filmed in Steiner Studios,
Okay.
and then we filmed at the actual New Amsterdam hospital.
Oh.
And after New Amsterdam, I went to work for Apple TV for Little Voice, where I became the key PA, which is like the production coordinator of the set. Like, I manage everything that happens on set. And that was a great show. I worked with Sara Bareilles in that show.
Oh, wow.
And Brittany O'Grady, so many amazing actors. And that show made me fall in love with New York. Because that's a show that when you work on a place where you meet every single hidden gem. Mm-hmm. Like, I lived in New York for 4 years. I didn't know anywhere until I worked on that show. I learned every speakeasy, every alley, every Chinese place, every dollar pizza I met in that show. And to be honest, I've been very blessed throughout my career because I got to experience so many things. Like, I not just work on acting, I did production, I worked in office, I've worked, and it made me a better actor as well. It has made me a better actor and a better person, because once you start appreciating all the job that happens behind the camera,
right?
When you see a movie, you appreciate it way more.
Yes.
Way more. Now, every time I see a movie, I'm like, that's an amazing PA job. Or I say, like, that's an amazing camera work. Because you learn, like, what everyone does, and you realize, like, an actor is just a little piece in the chessboard.
Right.
There's so many things happening to make those actors look great. So now after I see a movie, I don't blame an actor or the director. I blame, or like I applaud the whole crew, because everyone gets involved.
Right. What so right now you're working on A Midsummer Night's Dream, but a year ago you said you were in India.
Yeah, I was in Mumbai.
Wow. And now, pretty soon, the premiere.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yes.
It's in March 2025. What's next year? 2025?
2025.
Yeah, March 2025. I'm so lost, people.
So tell us about that. It was called what? Courage?
It's called Courage. That was, God, you know, I love doing the shows because sometimes you forget how much amazing opportunities and how many blessings you have in life. I love when I get to like relive all these moments, because we love to complain as humans. We love to like
but I think
complain.
it's just maybe it's a reminder right now of those moments, those key moments, so that you just hold on, because that next key moment is coming.
I know. Like, honestly, India was it's a trip that changed my life personally. As a person, it changed my life. That movie was such a random thing. Like, it was supposed to be filmed in DR, and they were looking for actors that looked Hindi or Indian for the movie. And I got called, which I thought was odd. And then they were like, they compared me to this Indian actress. And when I saw that picture, we actually looked alike. And that's the person they wanted to like me to play in the movie. So I was like, oh, that's interesting that we actually looked alike. Things happened. Production got stopped. I already got the role, but it was stopped. And then they sent me an email saying, so because of situation with actors and budget and stuff, we are moving the movie to India. And I said, well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for giving me a call. I appreciate it. And they're like, no, we still want you. Will you be willing to go to India? And never in a million years, like, never I thought I was going to go to Mumbai. It was not in my bucket list. It was not something like I had pictured in my life. But I said, when on earth am I going to go back to India? Like, might as well just do it. And my family thought it was crazy, because it was like, first of all, it was an 18-hour flight. I didn't know anybody. Like, I didn't know who I was going to meet at the airport. I just was like, I knew the director, don't get me wrong. I've Zoomed with them for rehearsals and stuff, which was a nightmare, because I was rehearsing from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning to go to sleep to, like, do it again. And I went to India. I spent a month in Mumbai, and it was the best experience of my life. First thing I can say about India is that we think Hollywood is everything until you go to Mumbai. Like, they know about film business. Like, people have the misconception that film was made in the U.S. and India was making movies before Hollywood came in. Like, India is one of the pioneers. They have a genre for every language they speak. So you have Hindi movies, you have Maharashtra movies, you have so many languages movies. You have Hindi Maharashtra, you have English Hindi. Like, there's so many languages, and there's so many people that work on staff. Like, we were working on a crew with 500 people. That's insane. Like, I've never seen that many people on a location before. And we were working on a train station with like 100 extras. And I'm like, it was a surreal experience. I loved their energy on set. They protect a lot their energy, sound bowling like moments on set, chai moments on set. Like, it was an amazing experience. Everyone was such a sweetheart, and I I wanted to learn so much about the culture, and I loved that I did it with locals because they taught me a lot. This is something very interesting for those who speak English and are in DR. In India, bachata and salsa are very popular. They actually don't know where Dominican Republic is, but they know who Romeo Santos is.
Eh?
That was impressive for me. And they know where Punta Cana is. They don't know where DR is, but they know where Punta Cana is.
It's kind of like with Dominicans, and if you say the United States, no, it's not the United States, it's New York. Right? Like it's
Nueva York.
Same
Nueva
kind
York.
of thing. Everything's New York. It's not
Or
anything
Miami.
else. Yeah.
Or Miami.
But tell me about to close this up. Is it Bollywood? Were you at Bollywood? Is Mumbai Bollywood or
No, so Bollywood is just a studio.
Okay.
Bollywood is a studio that like Hollywood make their own genre movies. I did a Hindi English movie, which is part American, part Hindi. We've shot at a Bollywood studio, which was pretty cool. But Courage is about the first kidney transplant that ever happened in India.
Oh.
And it's a love story about these two people that back in the 80s did everything they could to preserve their love. It's such a beautiful story. We got to meet the real people that are based on. And I play the wife's best friend that creates the nonprofit to help the husband to get the kidney transplant.
Incredible.
So I had to do a lot of numbers in Hindi. It was, I don't remember anything. I literally had to use an earplug. But I remember how to say thank you, which is shukriya.
Very good.
So that's all I know how to say.
Excellent.
Shukriya.
All right. So you have a lot coming up. And so how can people find you? What is the easiest way to get a hold of you, follow you,
Yes.
learn more about you,
You
and
can-
the productions you're doing?
You can find me on my socials on Instagram at Paula Ferry like the boat. And we have, in December, we have the ballet of Midsummer Night's Dream coming up. Next year, we have the premiere of Courage. And we come back to the theater with 2 new productions. So stay tuned to
Nice.
May 2025.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Thank you. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio. Until next time, bye. Every Friday at 7 p.m., Punta Cana Hits presents What's Up Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, the #1 English talk show in the area, with the best that the Dominican Republic and the rest of the world have to offer.
Marca el 809. Tu voz cuenta en Punta Cana Hits. Good morning, Pablo te responde. Llama y súmate a la conversación. Llama ya. Marca el 809-831-3333. Tu voz cuenta en Punta Cana Hits.
Tu voz cuenta. 809-831-3333. Tu sector, tu país, espera tu aporte. Dale, llama ya.
Good morning, Bávaro te responde. Llama y súmate a la conversación. Llama ya. Marca el 809-831-3333. Tu voz cuenta en Punta Cana Hits.